Hello, everybody, and welcome to Movies, Comics, Understudy. I think we haven't used that one, right?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with
Let's go with
that.
that one. My name is Brandon, also known as Fragger, and joining me as always is...
Chris.
Yes, you are. We took a week off last week because fuck all happened.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty huge week with all the massive news. I don't know if you heard, but Stick's gonna be in Daredevil, and I was like, this might take more than one episode to talk about. So
We gotta space this shit out.
yeah, I was like, we should probably temper it, let people kind of breathe for a week, and then we can talk about it the week afterwards, because the excitement's gonna be too high if we talk about it as soon as it comes out.
Exactly. But to be honest, fuck all's happened.
Yeah, it hasn't been a particularly newsworthy week for the past week or so, past 2 weeks.
We're
But
taking
that's
time
kind
off
of
when we can.
yeah, it's to be expected. Shield's just about to start. They don't really want to, get too much else going. Um, now Shield's out, and we'll probably just see the news kind of get inundated with that
Yeah.
for a good while. So there'll probably be a lot less news per se until the big announcements finally have to start coming out. I know for a while I've heard that the negotiations with Joaquin Phoenix are supposedly up and down. One moment it's like they're in the final mile, it's just his name to signature, and then the next one it's like Joaquin Phoenix is never gonna sign, and then it's other people who are like Joaquin Phoenix was never in contention. Just it's fucking. I'm ready to like announce myself as Doctor Strange at this point. I think
I don't think
that's.
you can pull it off, Chris. I'm sorry.
I think I could.
Ah, sorry.
I'm starting to get into shape. Come on, they need another Chris for the MCU.
I think they have enough, unfortunately.
No, it'll be me as Doctor Strange, and it'll get Chris O'Dowd to play Richard Rider, exactly like the crazy tinfoil hat conspiracist on the MCU subreddit thinks.
That is the funniest thing I've heard all day.
No, that's not even a joke. I actually have people or seen people who post theories that like Chris O'Dowd is Richard Rider because he was in Thor as a character named Richard, and it's Chris O'Dowd, so of course it's going to be a bigger role than it seems. Like it's people who are locked into that Richard Rider had his debut in Thor: The Dark World.
Just Jesus Christ.
As I said, man, the tinfoil is strong in that community.
Mm-hmm. So, other than that, we also had a few Guardians announcements. One,
Mm-hmm.
Guardians finally broke the Iron Man 1 numbers. No,
Crushed it.
it did. I
Finally
no
surpassed it.
no Iron Man 2. I'm sorry, not Iron Man 1. It's still
It's
outpacing Iron Man 1 though.
yeah, I was gonna say it's outpacing Iron Man. I don't know if it's actually beating it, but it has conquered Iron Man 2. It's gonna beat Iron Man 1 most likely.
Yeah, unless it just completely falls apart somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to have trouble doing that though, because theaters are still not really getting anything that crazy to pull people away from it.
I'm
I
at
mean, we're a month away, and I think the biggest release that's come out has been
Maze
the Maze
Runner.
Runner. And that
I've heard it's okay at least.
Maze Runner's all right till you get to the end. You're like, oh, there was no possible way this could be satisfying. I'm glad. I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad I was right on that.
Mm-hmm. Good call. Good call.
There was no way you could have made this make sense. I'm baffled you still made it as ridiculous as you did, but I knew there was no way you could do it.
I'm actually trying to find out theater totals for next week to see how many Guardians is still rocking. Because I can't imagine it can't be rocking more than 1,000 at this point.
No, I imagine it's drifting at the most. I think it's still might have like one or two showings at my theater, but I think for the most part
At
it's
my local big theater that I go to, I actually checked that today, and it still has like two different sets of showings.
there's probably still a 3D showing somewhere. I'll check my theater right now. Let's see. Good old Regal Cinemas, which did not get Tusk, which I wanted to see.
I
That
like the
was
fact that I just got to hit a nice little button on the front of my phone, and I actually have the showings for that theater. Just gotta wait for it to
hmm.
load. And
No,
that was totally not me getting a text while looking at my phone.
there's only actual one showing of Guardians right now. I don't know. Maybe over the weekend they'll start doing more.
Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah,
at
it
that
has four.
theater is looks like it's got two theaters, which is it's doing a 2D and a 3D showing still, which has
Yeah,
four showings each.
that's still impressive. I got four showings, but they're just limited to 2D right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, that is some good news for Guardians. In addition of things that are Guardians related selling very well, the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix Volume 1 has now certified gold.
which is
That means
crazy.
it's sold 500,000 copies, and the album is the second chart topping soundtrack of 2014 and climbed to the number one position in second and third weeks of release.
This is
Um,
ridiculous. Seriously.
that's insane that it's a mix of 70s and a couple 80s songs is topping the charts right now.
Yep.
And while I love it because, hey, Guardians is doing really well, it also, I feel like, has to say something about the current pop scene if that was able to make the number one album.
Mhm.
It's not like this is original music. It isn't like this is Frozen that made the top 10. It's like fucking like, oh, the Jackson 5 have a number one album again. Like, how the fuck did this happen?
So, as of this recording, which is Thursday, Guardians is sitting at 314 926 408, which is pretty fucking impressive. And Iron Man 1 is at 318 412. So, all it has to do is have one more decent weekend and then not completely just like disappear from the theaters
And
after.
to combine with that,
Hmm.
this has now pushed the MCU over the 7 billion market for worldwide sales of all their movies. So they've now made over $7 billion.
And if memory serves, right now the international numbers for Guardians is around that too, the 300 something mark.
Yeah, I think it's about 300. I think it's coming up upon 700
Yeah,
or yeah, 700 million now.
which is ridiculous.
That's what Cap made, and Cap was insane. So I mean, it probably it still might. I think it still hasn't reached China yet.
Who
I think
knows?
it just opened in Japan. I think October is China, so it still has a shot of breaking 700 million, which it's insane. I mean, it was insane that Captain America reached that, but for Guardians to get it would
I would
be.
actually say now in hindsight, Guardians would make more sense than Captain America.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, it does make sense in that regard.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's still one of those things where you're just like, how the fuck do you guys? It's just based off that brand at this point that you could sell anything from Marvel.
It does make you now kind of wonder what would have happened if Thor: The Dark World had been like better or more
Uh,
palatable for audiences. Is what I was
yeah,
getting at.
if it struck a better chord with
Makes
audiences,
you wonder how much more these movies would have made too.
yeah. It also, I'm really curious to see what Ant Man's gonna do now because if Avengers is anywhere near what it needs to be, then I feel like the boost from that, especially since it comes out really soon after Avengers, I just really am curious how much that's going to carry over into Ant Man. Because that feels like one of the toughest sells. Like, it's a superhero with the power of ants.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
really want to see if that, if
They're gonna
all
market
the
that like a
good.
motherfucker.
Yeah, and all the goodwill, because people were like, "Look, the fucking talking raccoon, the tree didn't get me. I'm not gonna let a guy who's as big as an ant stop me." So,
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how that starts doing. We should start getting news for that pretty soon as well. I would expect we'll be getting a trailer for Avengers: Age of Ultron within the next like two
I'm
months,
still
probably.
surprised they didn't premiere it during Shield. Honestly,
It seems a little early for it. I think the last Avengers didn't. I think yeah, the trailer came out in November. Maybe they're waiting. I heard a theory that they might even be waiting till Big Hero 6 comes out to debut it along.
that would make sense. That's up there. I would either imagine. Well, either
Either that or maybe Big Hero 6 just for the Disney connection. But if not that, then maybe during the Hunger Games movie.
Hunger Games or maybe during maybe I would still say they might do it during Shield just to give Shield that big old boost. Although apparently Shield did really good.
That's great to hear. And I've really heard, and we'll talk a lot more about Shield when we get to like the recap. But I've really been hearing pretty much unanimously positive things about
They're
this
like everyone's
episode.
like, "Yay!"
Yeah, last season, the first episode, some people were like, "I'll give this a shot." A lot more people this season were like, "Yeah, this is a lot more end of season one than start of season one." So I'm happy.
Hmm. I heard something like 6 mil plus.
That's actually really good. Considering at one point it dipped to like 2 million or something like that last year, didn't it?
Yeah, it really. I mean, Guardians probably helped a ton.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people were watching like, "Where's Groot?
Yeah, could you
I
imagine?
saw him dancing."
Could you fucking imagine?
Well, from what I understand, there's a I believe we talked about before that it sounds as though there's going to be at least a Hawkeye cameo at some point during the season. So if they can get an actual Avenger on it, it's not Nick Fury. I feel like that's gonna do gangbusters for them, especially since they're the sole lead into Avengers 2 at this point.
Mhm. Uh,
So they could.
5.98.
That's fucking great. That is really good. Especially it's been sort of it's been the thing that's weird. It has one of the strangest lead-ins ever with Dancing with the Stars
Yeah,
results show. Like I
the
remember what like I tuned in. I was like, what the fuck? There's no carryover between these two.
yeah, but the lowest was before was the episode Turn 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 and Ragtag, the second to last episode of the first season, which had 5.36.
There
7,
you go.
sorry. So, yeah, I'm really wondering how high up this series is going to go. Although, funny thing, I'm now looking at this. The guy who directed those one of those two episodes is the guy who directed the premiere. It's kind of funny that that happened. Can you get Joss to do Shadows? That would have been rad.
No, yeah, I mean, come on, he's busy. He's like, fuck, I'm so tired of Avengers and superhero shit right now.
He's editing.
Yeah, he's like, I'm busy.
Yeah, fucking busy. But no, yeah. So that's kind of it for the Avengers. I mean, sorry, the Avengers, the Shield stuff until we actually talk about the episode.
Yeah, and just real quick to finish off our Guardians of the Galaxy discussion, Guardians of the Galaxy, sorry, Guardians of the James Gunn has announced that Guardians of the Galaxy will be coming out on Blu-ray and DVD on December 9th of this year in the U.S., and I believe it's December 3rd in Australia.
Which a lot of people were projecting because I believe the current release for Turtles is the third in the U.S. on Blu-ray,
Hmm.
which makes sense because they want to have it. It's not going to be out in time, of course, for Black Friday, which usually you want to do. But sorry, I am typing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in at the same time as I am trying to speak, and it is not working at all for me. And for some reason, things are just getting highlighted, and I'm vamping, and yeah,
And I'm crying. It's awful.
I'm
Oh.
just a fucking hot mess here. So what happens is that yeah, I think Turtles is coming out the third because it's not listed on the site here. So when you have two very similar movies with that came out pretty close together, and one gets a release date, the odds of the other one being released around the same time makes sense because usually they want to have that audience association of oh, Guardians is out. I wonder if Turtles is out.
Yeah, and you also get the additional bonus of, hey, it's out right in time for Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, it's also early enough for Christmas.
Yeah, and the easy motivation. But I believe James Gunn's like tweet. I'm trying to see if I could still find it. But I think it's a little bit back because I'm following the Giants and because they have a game going on. There's a lot of bullshit on my Twitter feed. But I believe his exact quote is like, "It's going to be full of extras and commentary." So this is probably going to be one of those huge pieces of just
I'm hoping for a second
purchase.
disc
Yeah,
of
like
special features,
purchase the big purchase for this Christmas season.
which makes perfect sense because James Gunn is a very open filmmaker, as you may have
Mm.
noticed by now. So a lot of his stuff has pretty packed special features. In fact, as I reach over into this box and grab my copy of Super, it had a commentary, a feature, behind the scenes, making of the main titles, stuff like that. I forget actually how long these special features were, but this was an indie film too, and it had that much.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm pretty fucking pumped for the Guardians Blu-ray. Blu-ray.com has the Amazon version of the covers so far. And have you seen those at all?
I have not. I have not.
They're I can just tell you what they are. You know exactly what I mean. Uh, the 3D set has the "You're Welcome" poster,
Okay, I could dig that.
and the 2D one has the Star Wars poster, pretty much.
I could dig that.
Yeah. So they picked the two perfect posters for that. Although I would absolutely buy for all the money in the world that IMAX poster as a steelbook with those nice colors.
Oh, the You're Welcome one.
The cassette tape one.
Oh, okay, yeah, that. Okay, yes, that one. That would be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine that we might get some special covers for it and whatnot, but we are talking months down the line from now.
It looks like he may have actually deleted his tweet that Guardians is coming out, but it's been confirmed by other websites. So
And
Strange, but there it is.
like
Or is it
Amazon doesn't have a
Twitter
release date
Plus?
on it. But BT dubs. It's got 3 1-star reviews on Amazon already.
Aw, that's sad.
Okay, I have to read
That can't
I
be
have
real.
to read 2 of these.
Okay.
1. Garbage. DC has once again failed at film directing. Lame CGI, lame directing, lame actors. The film looks like an Ed Wood film. Avoid at all cost. Watch the Daredevil movie instead. It was back in DC's prime. They could actually direct, and they've all washed up now. Sad.
All
Bye.
right, well,
Bye.
that's a troll review. That's someone who's
Exactly.
intentionally being stupid.
The next one I don't think is. PG-13 is PG-13.
Okay, that's succinct and to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a compelling argument.
I don't feel like reading this other one. The guy actually goes into a lot of depth, saying that there's too much brown in the movie at one point.
Too much brown. It's one of the most colorful Marvel movie. Whatever. But yeah, so there you go, guys. If you're looking to check out Guardians of the Galaxy on DVD, it's coming out relatively soon. You'll get it in time for Christmas, which is right around the corner if you're not aware. I don't know if you guys were noticing, but fucking September's just about over.
I know, isn't that weird?
No, it's not weird. I'm like the one person who's like, this has been the longest year of the fucking history of mankind. This September has felt like 4 months to me.
I don't know.
I'm weird, but
It's
yeah,
been a
this
nice
year's been
September
going
for
by.
me.
It's like ungodly slow. But hey, we do have some news,
Oh my
and
god.
it's a big deal. None of it's crazy, but there's a little piece of just Marvel news real quick to start off with, and that is that TNT has acquired the TV airing rights for the next 5 Marvel movies.
Okay.
So they're going to be getting. It starts with Avengers: Age of Ultron, and they're going to be able to air these movies starting 2 years after theatrical release. So they'll get Age of Ultron, Ant Man, Captain America 3, Doctor Strange, and then whatever comes out between Strange and Guardians 2. So good news for TNT. I'm sure that'll make them a shit ton of money.
Didn't they have the rights to the other ones before them too?
No, I believe FX had those.
Oh, FX did. Okay.
Yeah, someone else had them before. Quick little piece of news with Avengers: Age of Ultron. Marvel released an official synopsis for the movie
Oh
now,
my god.
which tells us all basically everything we already knew. But here is the official synopsis in case you want to hear it. Quote, when Tony Stark tries to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program, things go awry and Earth's mightiest heroes are put to the ultimate test as the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. As the villainous Ultron emerges, it is up to the Avengers to stop him from enacting his terrible plans, and soon uneasy alliances and unexpected action pave the way for an epic and unique global adventure.
So dormant peacekeeping.
Yes, this suggests that he doesn't create it from the ground up.
Yeah,
That perhaps Hank
probably
Pym.
Hank Pym probably still makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. They're able to say, look, Hank Pym makes it, but Tony Stark's the one who's going to be
That does sound
actually
like a Tony Stark thing to do.
implementing it. Yeah, he's going to be like, I can make this
I see this.
in my
I can make it better.
in my image too. I'm going to make it better in my image.
Exactly. So,
So a little bit there. Small piece of casting news for Agent Carter,
oh my
James
god.
D'Arcy. I'm probably screwing up how you pronounce his last name. The D apostrophe ARCY. I think it's like Darcy
The
or
RC.
D'Arcy. DRC. He is going to be playing Jarvis in Agent Carter. We know that Howard Stark, an older or younger version of Howard Stark, is going to be in this, and Jarvis is going to be in the movie. James is going to be playing him. A human version of Jarvis, not a robot,
Oop.
AI. That'd be really creepy in like 1940.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's going to be in there. And a small piece of news in Doctor Strange, it's going to begin filming in the UK in 2015, May of 2015. So that lines it up pretty much exactly to be that second movie in the end of 2016 at that point.
Mhm.
It's also going to be using the same uh, filming location company as Star Wars and Avengers Age of Ultron. So
Yeah,
in case anyone
using
was
Pinewood,
curious.
right?
Pinewood Shepperton, I think it's
Mhm.
called.
Pinewood is up there for like big, been around forever places and things. Brain. Sorry, I got like 3 hours of sleep.
I feel you, man. We'll finish up real quick here on the news. There's just a little bit of Daredevil stuff to talk about. The biggest news, I suppose, would be that Marvel announced they are going to be debuting the cast of Daredevil at New York Comic Con. So
Oh.
that is going to be, I think that's October like the start of October, October 11th. October 11th, Jeff Loeb is going to be, or Loeb, I think it is.
I think so. Yes.
He is going to be leading a panel at New York Comic Con where they are going to be introducing the star studded cast. And it'll be the first time the cast will be assembled publicly to answer burning questions about the series. That's what Marvel said in the press release about it. This probably will be the first time we'll actually see Charlie Cox with the Daredevil suit on, though, I can imagine. Because they've been doing filming for Daredevil for a while now. I imagine they probably have at least a single shot of him in it there. So we may not get like a on screen, but we'll probably get like a poster or something like that, like they had for Ant-Man.
How long have they been shooting?
They started I think last month, end of last month, August.
We may have a trailer.
Possible they might have some
They
kind
they
of
had
trailer
that
there.
less filmed for Guardians. Remember?
That is true, and it's interesting because they are still casting for Daredevil. They're still announcing people who they are putting into this. I said at the beginning of the show as a joke, but it is true that Scott Glenn has announced he's joining Daredevil as Stick, the character who sort of mentors Daredevil, and when he first gets his handicap and thus his
His
abilities.
handy
So
capable abilities.
he is, yeah, he's going to be in there. Scott Glenn. I don't know much about Scott Glenn, though. The pictures he have of him seem to fit what I could figure from Stick's persona pretty well. He looks like a wise old dude,
Rad.
which I feel is very important for the role. It'd be weird if he was like 13. They're like, Tyler Kish is Stick. And I'm just like, I
I
don't know
don't
if I can buy it.
know.
He's like 12 years younger than Charlie Cox. I don't know about this wise mentor character.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then finally, there was an interview with Stephen Knight and talking with Daredevil. And it's just kind of an interesting interview. He does it with pastemagazine.com. And it just talks a little bit about how Daredevil's a normal guy just being pushed to his limits and that he gets beat up a lot. He also comments about how, in his mind, he sees Daredevil as a very morally gray hero, how he'll almost beat a man to death, and that's kind of part of what makes him interesting as a hero. And compared to some of your more colorful, noble characters, Daredevil has a bit of a darker leaning towards him. Um, I believe it's Steven's exact quote. He's like, he's literally one bad day away from becoming the Punisher. And the most interesting quote he kind of has at this is he says
Ah.
he can't really confirm quite yet if there's going to be a second season for Daredevil. I believe he's like, I don't know if there is any, but he says that he and his team do have cool ideas if there is a season two.
So I just remembered something.
Okay.
Are you done? Actually, sorry.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
You mentioned the Punisher. The
Yes.
Punisher's popped up in the news recently.
How so?
Well, a friend of mine was talking with me about it. It's my very good friend who's a big Punisher head, and he's the one who got me into the Punisher, and he's the one who vehemently hates the when did that come out? 04 Punisher, something like that.
Warzone or
No,
the
the one
first
before
one?
that,
Okay.
the Thomas Jane one.
Mm.
I like Thomas Jane, but that movie was terrible. I agree. And he was saying like, I read in an interview with the directors of Captain America: The Winter Soldier that they were mentioning that there's a certain van that appears multiple times.
This is where another tinfoil hat comes in.
Except for the fact that the directors actually commented on it.
Yeah, but the directors have commented it as a joke.
I
Like they
didn't read
mentioned
it as
they're
a
like,
joke, and they said that the same guy drives the van both times.
I read it as a joke of they're like, yeah, it's the same guy, just the same dude who's a really shitty driver both times. I know some people are trying to make this out to be that the Punisher's the guy driving it, but I just read it as, nah, this is just some, like they use the same. Basically, they had two car crashes in the movie, and they used the same vehicle for both, and it's just an incontinuity joke that it just happened to be the same guy both times. I'm not buying into that. The Punisher theory.
The fact that the thing on the side of the van is one of Punisher's cover companies.
I could just be an Easter egg. I won't buy into it. I refuse to.
I'll buy into it.
I'll buy into Daredevil or like actual Punisher cameos within the Netflix series, but I don't think that they're cameoing him in actuality in Winter Soldier.
Eh,
I think it's just a little hint, a little playful hint at it, and then the joke about the driver being the same person both times is just them being like, and this poor fucking schmuck wrecked two cars in one day.
mm, I don't know. I was kind of just down for it, just like, oh, that's a fun kind of Easter egg if that's what they're going for.
It's possible. I'm also coming off of I just finished the Game of Thrones series, so I'm reading all of the books. So I'm going through all the Song of Ice and Fire theories, and I've heard like every insane thing in the world. So I'm just skeptical on everything in my life right now.
Apparently, that whole truck thing was also mentioned in the commentary. I didn't
Hmm.
quite catch it. I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, I think that's where most of the news stories came about is people picking it up off the commentary track.
Hmm. But no, I mean, I think him and I also discussed about how Punisher would kind of work in the Cap universe at least a little bit as a more crazy person.
Well, here's the thing. The kind of growing theory at the moment is that the next Cap movie is going to be Secret Wars or based in Secret Wars. The notion being that Cap is leading a team.
Hmm.
And, obviously Falcon's going to be in the movie. They signed him for a whole bunch. Winter Soldier's going to be in the movie, probably as like a, anti-hero kind of role for a little bit.
The
So
brooding character role.
yeah, but I don't think he's necessarily going to be right under Cap, and part of Cap's team. So it kind of leaves the doors open. Hawkeye might be in there, maybe Black Widow, but you're like, who else could they get to get in that team? And two of the names I heard that really kind of interest me is, obviously Punisher would be one.
I don't
That could be an interesting, like, we found this guy. He's going to be a wild card on your team, but, we're going to put him in there because he can get shit done. And then the other one that I heard that interested me was Daredevil, and a notion of saying like, hey, by that time, Daredevil's first season is going to be over.
I don't know. I don't know. Well,
That seems like that could be a cool move.
Daredevil's more
Because
likely than the Punisher because Punisher don't play by those rules.
yeah, but he also fucking loves Captain America like we all
He
do.
does. That would be one of those ways to bring him in. I don't know. I'm a little cagey on that idea. It sounds too cheesy for me.
I think it would be cool, but yeah, it kind of remains to see how they'd actually execute it.
So, are you ready for in the third Captain America movie where they quote unquote kill Steve Rogers and then the Winter Soldier takes over?
It's gonna hurt my soul, but yeah, I think I could do it.
Yeah, it's probably gonna happen, isn't it?
And I mean, it's all but confirmed. I mean, Chris Evans can make as many jokes. It's like I'm not ready to give up the shield as much as she wants, but the dude just wants to direct at this point.
He does, and he's a good director too.
So
It sounds.
yeah, and I'm sure that once he's done, he'd like, look, I'd love to come back and do some acting, but it's just this grueling schedule plus the constant need to keep himself in the ridiculous shape he is for these movies.
Bro.
Yeah, I mean, come on. The dude's probably like, I just want to eat a pizza. I want to eat a whole fucking pizza and not feel like I ruined a fucking week of work.
I know.
And I feel him. I feel him on that.
But that's it for the news.
Yeah, that's it for the news. As I said, this is the reason why we didn't have an episode.
Hmm.
Because it was like, yeah, I was going to lead in with that stick. And I was just going to be like, all right, there, Fraggers, fucking sticks in the movie. And then
And we're done for this week, guys.
I was going to
Bye.
be like, all right, let's banter on stick for 40 minutes.
Vamp. Vamp.
Hey, man, have you heard about these Avengers pizzas they have at Walmart?
Shut the fuck up. So we did have something happen in this past week. We had the premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was actually really good. I didn't see a single bit. I didn't see a single trailer. I didn't see any promotional material. I just somehow bumped into end spoilers.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It happens.
It's a bummer because it's a little bit unexpected. I mean,
Kinda.
I called it at the start, but
I still don't think that we've seen the end of a certain character. Part of me is thinking that.
all right, we can see how that goes. Um, do we want to recap the episode? I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since we've done this. I've forgotten how
Usually we
we.
talk a little bit about some bullet points about what happens, then we go into spoiler territory.
Okay, so this is the season 2 premiere of Age of Shield, episode 1,
Mm-hmm.
Shadows.
Shadows is the name of the title. It is directed by a previous director. The guy, he's directed a few other episodes. Most notably, he directed one of the last episodes of the the Captain like the Captain America stuff, the pre-Captain America stuff, I believe, because he did the episode "The Only Light in the Darkness." If welcome back, Chris.
Promise me in the future you will never let me update Skype.
Don't ever up.
Every time Skype's like, we have a new update, I'm like, they've gotta gotten their shit together by now.
Mm.
There's no way their new version is even more broken than the last one, and I'll have to fucking down upgrade to a fucking 5 point something version. But that's what I have to do after this podcast. It's fucking happening all the time.
Doesn't happen to me, Chris.
I don't know why my computer just does not ever like new versions of Skype.
It just
It
goes,
always
ah,
fucking
hell no.
oh fuck this shit, and it just immediately fucking just causes issues. I hate it.
So, as I was saying about the director of the episode is Vincent Bisagno, something like that. I butchered that as well as you butcher things. He directed a bunch of the episodes. Most notably, he did Turn, 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 and The Only Light in the Darkness.
All right. So the basic description of the episode is that we're kind of picking up where we left off, but a good time skip has occurred between then
Seems
and
like
now.
6 months or so,
It seems as though a good time difference has happened
because they
because a lot
mentioned
of
the
characters,
winter.
yeah, and a lot of characters are very different now. We've seen that pretty much everybody has grown and changed within that time. Coulson is extremely busy as his new role of director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Some
and
pa-
Azarus.
some characters have beards now.
Yeah, a lot of beards. As a result of this, he's distant and doesn't get to talk to his team very often. Sky is now a full-on agent of Shield. You know, basically mentored under May to become a badass, like someone like Ward and all that stuff.
But less Hydra.
Yeah, less Hydra thus far. We don't know. She has
Oh,
bangs now, and those could be bangs of evil.
touche,
Well,
Sim.
also, by the way, yeah, Sky's bangs did trend on Twitter
I can't believe
at
that
one point.
actually happened.
That trended on Twitter, as did Ward's beard, and then eventually Talbot's mustache, which got its own Twitter account. It was a kind of silly night. This is the first time because I follow Chloe Bennett on Twitter now, and I didn't realize. And I was following the Agents of Shield official Twitter account until that got just fucking too ridiculous for me to follow anymore. But it is interesting watching the live tweeting happening between them because all of them are just joking at one another. I actually think it is worth at least giving a follow to one of them.
I
Uh,
follow Clark Gregg.
Yeah, that'd be another good one to follow because they usually are tweeting jokes at each other and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot has changed in the past year, and there is a new dilemma come about. There's a new piece of sealed, forgotten technology that has been claimed by the military that has.
Which, by the way, is introduced in a really good opening.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to gloss over that because that was really good.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to gloss it. I'm trying to just give a synopsis of it before we get into bullet points.
I was gonna say it opens with World War II stuff, which is rad.
It opens with very cool World War II stuff. We get to see some cool characters again.
Red
We
Skull
get
got mentioned.
Yeah, Red Skull got mentioned. We get to see and introduced to another high-profile member of Hydra's army.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we did get to see, as noted before, Agent Carter.
Mm-hmm. Dum
She
Dum.
shows up. Dum Dum Dugan, the other one whose name I don't know.
Jim Moria.
There you go. He was in there as
Rita.
well.
Sorry, my bad.
And they uncover a piece of tech that Hydra was planning to use that had a very dangerous potential to it. They sort of sealed it away, but because the U.S. government's taken over Shield's assets, that piece is now casually in the open.
Meh, whatever.
And a very particular villain of the Marvel universe was sent to retrieve it for Hydra. And that was Carl Creel, aka the Absorbing Man.
Mm-hmm. With some really good special effects.
He looks fucking pimp as shit. That dude has a six pack, and then he like grabs a rock and he's like, I have a fucking rock six pack.
I'm rocking this shit.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
You sir cut. Mm.
I got a ab landslide.
I don't even get what that's a pun of.
I don't know either. Let's keep going.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, that's essentially the premise for the episode, and some pretty important stuff happens. I don't know if we want to get into spoilers now or.
Well, let's talk about the episode in general.
Okay, you want to go to bed first?
Yeah, yeah.
Get a quick nappy nap in.
Dude, I got 3 fucking hours of sleep. Eat my dick. Um, so it's one of those things where this is a very season premiere episode. It sets some stakes, kind of tossed almost too much shit at once. It was almost too loaded with things. You know?
There was a lot going on, but it had to tell a lot. But yeah, it did feel a little bit crammed with a little bit of jumping
You
here and
know,
there.
I think
Even
this could have been an episode that would have been great as a two-parter opening.
yes, I actually think that would have worked better for it. Particularly with the way the episode ends, it probably would have been better to give us a little bit more time with some of these characters to really pull in the gravitas of things.
Yeah, and I mean, even if the two-parter ended the same way, just giving us more time to ease into. Uh,
All these very, very strange
we've
developments.
got like multiple new characters. You've got a character from last season who we saw barely that is now in a much more prominent role. We've got an entirely new team dynamic. We've got
I
new
mean, there's a point
villains.
where they're talking about how one of the characters might actually be a clone. And it's not like really discussed like that's the gravity of the scene. It's just something they kind of have to get out because they've got 20 other plot points they have to hit this episode, which is a shame because it's actually, and I'm sure they'll dig into it more later, but it is like a very interesting moment where you're like, I want to kind of go back to that point that you were just discussing because that seems really fucking interesting that you mentioned that.
By the way,
Yeah, let's dial it back. Hey, Sky, I get it. You got new bangs. You're a kick-ass assassin. Let's go back to that moment 3 seconds ago where you're like, I think that guy might be a clone.
mhm. So yeah, there's a lot of things that it was almost too packed. Luckily, I wasn't watching it when I was tired. I actually had to fight with Hulu to watch it the next day. Sort of fucking god, I went through 3 devices and none of them would play the episode. I
Oof,
had to actually watch it
fun.
online. Um, and I think that the only thing, I mean, there's just so much shit that goes on in this episode. From
We get introduced to three new characters on just the Agents of Shield side.
yeah, the Shield side alone. No,
Then
four,
we
four,
also,
four, because there's also the
uh,
other guy in the hangar.
oh yes, Mac,
Yes,
Mac the engineer.
who's
I
there for
remember
five
even
seconds.
I remember even mentioning him when he got cast, and I was just like, "This seems like like a big deal." Like, and they introduce him in the episode. It's like, "Hey, Mac," and you have to show him like fucking wrenching something to be like, "Oh, he's the mechanic." And I'm still like, "How the fuck? Like, what is this guy?" I'm sure he'll get like emphasis in later episodes where they kind of show why he's with the team, why this dude's important. But it is one of those things where it's just like, "Hey guys." Hi, Mac the engineer. Like, and then they have to walk by. Now that they're done announcing him for the fucking audience.
Yeah, so we got all of that. We got reintroduced to the SSR people. We got a new Hydra villain.
We got Talbot coming back and being a much bigger presence.
We got the Absorbing Man.
Yeah, like it's a lot of stuff is happening.
And then a lot of characters have entirely new dynamics. All this other
Mhm.
shit is going on, and then there's a twist in the end. There's two twists in the end.
And it's just an hour long episode, and they still have to tell the beginning of what this new
Arc.
Shield story is. Yeah, we have to like that's where they have to get to. There are some awkward points. This is particularly one really bad one at the end of the episode we can get into with spoilers that I just did not care for at all. But for the most part, I liked what this season is doing because it's creating what I feel is a very interesting and gray area style of Shield. This is not the same kind of super optimistic Shield you had at the end of last season.
Mm-hmm.
The one who was kind of just like, oh hey, we fly around this big white van or big big plane with all the markings on the side. We just go around and help people. This is one. This is an organization. You're still like, I'm not entirely sure if you should exist because you're still doing some very questionable things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I feel Shield's at its best. Is when it's really kind of an argument with yourself, like, should this even exist?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's dig into spoilers. So if you guys have not seen the episode by the time that this is out, then watch the episode first if you don't want to be spoiled. Otherwise, here we go.
Yeah. So
So what'd you think about Clark Gregg dying at the end of the episode?
yeah, that was crazy. And it turns out he was fucking Hydra all
I
along.
know.
Man, that was fucking ridiculous. I couldn't. Now, none of those happened. No, that kind of sort of happens with one character. This is the episode that we got introduced to Lucy Lawless, which was announced she would be joining the cast. It was this big thing. And it was as the episode started where I started to think on that. I was like, they made a really big deal out of Lucy Lawless joining this cast. And
Mm-hmm.
she's introduced in this episode. She's going to die. And I just sat there. I was like, somehow, I don't know how, but she's going to die. And yeah, that happens. She is trying to protect the object from Crusher Creel. She grabs onto it. It is killing her hand. So the new agent of the season, Lance Hunter, I believe is his name, played by Nick Blood, cuts off her arm, and you're like, okay, she's gonna make it out of this. And then fucking Crusher Kill just like fucking ramps their car and kills him in Idaho and or her in Idaho, and yeah, Lucy Lawless appears to be dead.
Again.
Yeah, pretty big bummer, but I mean, I liked it. Her character was it seemed to be cool. I was like, I could dig this first season, but I just sat there. I was like, she's gonna die. I could feel it. It just feels like they made a big deal out of this, and this was like their shocker to be like Lucy Lawless in the show, and she's fucking dead as shit. Especially because I was like, I know that this Nick Blood character, this Lance Hunter character, is supposed to become a main character of the series,
Yeah, he's listed
and
as
like a
main cast.
series regular.
Yeah.
So I was like, and it's going to be tough for him to get into that role if she's still around. Like, unless she was like, I'm just going to lend you my mercenary second in command to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just figured there was something that was going to happen that would free him of that responsibility of having to work for her. Um, I thought that was a big shocker. The one that everyone is gonna kind of mention though is we see Fitz and Fitz is alive,
Yup.
but clearly damaged a lot from almost drowning,
A lot.
and he has a lot of trouble with his words, and Simmons around there trying to kind of help him through it, and she's there to kind of give him all the words he needs to get through as he's trying to explain his experiments. He's very troubled by all this stuff. It really reminded me a lot of my mom after she first had her stroke, where it was just like, oh, I want to just get to give you those words that you're clearly trying to get to. Now she just says fucking like poopins and shit. So it's like, all right, it's a little bit better than what my mom's currently at, but it was kind of hard until you get to the end of the episode, and they're Coulson's talking about Fitz, and he's like, Fitz isn't going to do anything else in his life again. He's broken. After Simmons left, things just fell apart. And you're like, Simmons left, but she's been there.
Dun
And
dun
you
dun.
realize Fitz is imagining a version of Simmons that's there to help him survive. He's hallucinating her at this point,
Yeah, that's
and
awful.
it's fucking hard. The best ways I've heard it is it's Agent Fitz, Agent of Feels. Or Fitz is the Infinity Stone. He's the Feel Stone. It's pretty heartbreaking. You
It
feel bad
is.
for
It
the
was
guy.
that moment when that happened. I'm like, oh, you're going dark this season, aren't you?
That's the moment I tweeted at one point. I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
oh dear.
There.
And it was that's the moment that sold me so well on the season. I was like, you're actually gonna do this. This is a shield that's full of so many fucking dark and broken people.
And they're okay with it.
Yeah, like you're cool with this. You're cool with this, and you're cool with keeping fucking Ward, a known Hydra agent, inside of your base solely because you're like,
He's gonna
he can,
Hannibal Lecter the shit out of things.
yeah, he can, he really wants to hit on Sky, and he fucking, you want to talk about creepy characters? Like, a lot of people are like, I hope Ward doesn't get a redemption story. Oh, he's kind of playing at that, but in a really twisted
And
way.
I love that Sky gives no fucks.
Yeah, like he plays into this, like it's like she sees these scars on his hand
That was really good, actually.
from where he's like, oh, I've been trying. Like he notes he's like, oh, I found a button on the back of my
I don't
pants. They
have
took
buttons
that
anymore.
away. Yeah, and then I found a piece of paper and I folded it really sharp, and they took that away. So then I just started running into walls. But you're like, he's doing this on purpose
To get
to try
sympathy.
to gain sympathy. Yeah, that's the thing. Is he's become almost like this creepy stalker to Sky, just trying to earn her affection in this really disturbing way. This isn't like a simple, hey, I'm the cute, troubled guy here. I was bad, but this is my redemption story. This really does feel like a guy completely unhinged, and Brett Dalton is selling it to me right now.
I am so fucking pumped for where this season's gonna go after this episode. The fact that one, this season did have the balls to kill off a character in the first episode. Two, it had the balls to make Fitz crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They
To really to just
break
fucking
him.
make him such a sad looking character.
And I actually cannot wait for the eventual scene where she comes back and he's gonna see her and maybe
Like
have his
a
version of
breakdown.
her and just completely lose it.
Because you see, like his version of her is so much more affectionate to him. She's touching his shoulder. She's gently kind of cooing him with the next words he needs. She's so supportive. She knows exactly what he's thinking. So it's his own mind trying to help him. And
Hmm.
it's so disturbing in the way it's executed. And as you said, she's gone. Simmons is gone. She's left Shield at this point, or she's working somewhere else, maybe helping out Shield, but she's left this team. And that's another part of why Shield feels like such a darker organization this time, is because one of the most innocent characters, one of its moral compasses, is now off the team completely.
Hmm.
So you have Coulson, who's like this, almost feels like a recluse at certain times. It is clearly going to go for a lot more controversial plans. You have Ward, who's seen in the base. You have
Crazy as
Fitz.
fuck.
Yeah, Fitz, who's completely lost and isn't much help to the team anymore. You have Agent Keening, who people are theorizing is an LMQ or some kind of clone robot.
LMD,
Like
you
you have,
mean?
yeah, LMD. Like you have LMQ is a League of Legends team. I just realized after I'd said it.
Derp.
But you have all these fucking different things that are so creepy in their way and very questionable, very morally dubious, and why they're all being kept the way around or why they are the way they are. And that's when Shield's at its best, when it's this organization that feels wrong, but you're like, but they're doing good. It has those really cool moments, and that's the kind of tone I want the series to take this season, because that's going to be interesting to follow.
That poster completely told me that's where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I really hope Ward doesn't break out and kill Patton Oswald again.
They're like, oh, we have to make another one.
God
Jeez.
damn it! We only have so many Patton Oswalds.
Now, it is worth noting that Agent Triplet was in this episode as a full member of the team, but he is still being listed as a guest,
Recurring.
yeah, as a recurring star. So that's an interesting thing to me. I thought at the end of the episode he might have been the one to get killed.
Hmm.
I thought maybe that was where they were going to go, and they were going to kind of start the episode off with a pretty big tragic loss of being like, yeah, we're really fugitives. Um, the scene though I hated is at the very end. The mercenary team's left because they're like, we have to get her to a hospital. Hartley, I think, is Lucy Lawless's character's name. So they leave, but Coulson's like, the rest of my team, you have a job to do, and their job is to get a Quinjet basically because it has stealth technology,
And they
and
need
they
it.
need that.
Hmm.
They need that to kind of stay hidden. And they're running towards this Quinjet, and while it's happening, Coulson's giving a speech about why they need it, and that's fine. It's a little bit kind of like a prepped speech. It doesn't feel completely natural for the moment. But the problem I have is that the scene it happens in, it's them running down a straight blank shot, and a bunch of Marines are shooting at them and can't hit any of those three fuckers. Like
Hmm.
it's like straight shot of them running towards this fucking plane, and they're firing back, just doing cover fire. I'm like, seriously, I know that some of them are privates, but these are trained Marines, and not one of them can hit even one of these three running motherfuckers. Like Melinda May picks up a fucking motorcycle. You couldn't nail
She had
her.
time to get a motorcycle.
Yeah, like they had time to hop in the Quinjet, get started going, and you couldn't get one of them?
I know, it was kind of ridiculous.
It's a little bit ridiculous, but it still doesn't ruin the episode. It's just one of those things I was like, it irks me, but I'll endure it because I want to enjoy this rather than hate it. So, but no, I mean, for the most part, I think this was a really good season premiere.
And we also got some
Oh,
villains.
fucking yeah! I keep forgetting. I was like, there's a shit ton more of this episode to even
Yeah,
talk
there's
about.
villains. We've got and Talbot and all of that.
Talbot had one of my favorite lines of the episode too, where he's like, "Oh, you're gonna keep me in your honeycomb death room."
I know. They give him great lines, don't they?
I love that line, especially because they brought that set back to it too, and I was just like, "Oh, we're gonna use this set again, the interrogation honeycomb death room."
The honeycomb death room. It's like, well, that's the canon name now. So yeah, that was really good. The Azoriman's a really good villain. They actually brought their A game with the special effects this time with him.
He looked really good, and they did that thing that I love that Marvel does, where like, those things you like about this character from the comics. To have him do everything like he does in the comics would just be too silly. But we're gonna give homages to that as much as we can. So in the comics, Crusher Creel often uses a wrecking ball or a ball and chain. So at
Mhm.
one point he's grabbing a steel chain from a park railing, and he pulls that off, and when he pulls it off, it comes with like the orbits at the top of one of the decorative poles. So he's got a ball and chain that he's going to use, and I thought that was really cool to kind of give a throw to the comic book fans in there.
I also like the fact that they made it so that he doesn't always completely transform.
He can choose what parts turn. Sometimes
Yes.
it's just a hand, sometimes it's just a chest.
Which is really good. I actually really like that. That's a good
Yeah.
special effect. And the diamond effect looked really rad. The glass effect looked pretty rad.
I can't remember if it's wood he grabs at that one point where he's just breathing, or if it's a rock. It
That's
kind of looked
that's
a little
that's wood. It looked
okay.
wood to me.
Yeah, it looked really good there too, and I like the way they describe his powers. It's like an addiction to him,
Mhm.
and him getting his high is when he's able to just transform and kind of sit on it. I think he's the right kind of character for this too. A lot of
He's a
people
good
complain.
heavy.
Yeah, like a lot of people complained last season that there was no supervillains on the show. There was just regular people, or he's the girl with the flower dress, that sort of thing. That really wasn't like a comic booky villain. There was nothing to really separate Shield from like an NCIS or something like that, or any of those other kind of cop drama shows.
Hmm.
But this creates a comic book villain for this comic book show that's in that same kind of power realm as the Agents of Shield. This is a guy who you can see them fight. He's stronger than them. You don't know how they're going to really take him down, but he's not so over. Like the fact that they have Gravitron in their show is what worries me. I'm like, how the fuck would they ever beat Gravitron if he got out?
Yeah, no. We
But Crush,
you fucking watched
yeah, I watched their fucking Earth's Mightiest Heroes where he was like the reason the Avengers had to come together at the start.
and you know what? That was a good reason for them to come together because
Yeah,
they were kind of fucked.
they were like, we're gonna be fucked if we don't join up forces on this. So yeah, I couldn't see, but Absorbman, I could definitely see them coming together to beat him if they need to. I
Yeah.
can see them definitely doing that.
And when it came down to it, I mean, I'm glad that we saw some more Hydra stuff happening, which is always great. I loved the fact that we got to see the fucking Captain America 1 Hydra costumes again, which was
Yes,
awesome. And I
and
loved their Hydra costumes for the first movie.
we got our tease to the Kraken, who's going to be one of our big antagonists this season.
Which is pretty fucking rad. Or probably the one for the first arc.
Yeah, and another tease as well for Sky's father was in there
Yeah, Ward casually dropping that.
at the very end. There's really cool stuff going around
It's
here.
almost too dense.
That's what I mean, because like you're going back and like there's so many points. Yeah, it's a shame that they had to kind of pile as much into it in that first episode. How many
22.
have they announced? Okay, 22 episodes this season.
I believe it's at 22. I'll just double check here, but I'm pretty sure it's at 22 episodes with they're going to break at 11, I believe, and that's when Agent Carter's going to be shown, and then it's going to come back. So there's going to be no break at all. There might be like a week off that they take, but that's about it. There's going to be
And
no
I'm
momentum
sure
killer.
yeah. And I'm sure there might even be like a special for that week, like the last
They
pre.
specifically mentioned there's going to be no momentum killing at all.
Okay. That's great to hear. Yeah, I really is there anything else I'm forgetting?
No, just stuff in the future. I really hope that the show is going to be around. It might still be around when Ultron hits. I don't know. It would be cool.
Um Agent Carter starts in what, January?
I believe.
It's over the winter, I know. But I can't remember if it starts in January or
I
December.
also don't know how long it's going to be. How many episodes?
Agent Carter's 8
Eight episodes.
episodes.
It's an 8 episode break. So 30 episodes. That's 30 weeks. Let's say 32 weeks just to be safe. Oh,
That's about 8 months.
about 8 months. So yeah, it should still be around when.
Yeah, should be ending about right around the time we'll be jumping into Avengers.
So we
If
might
not,
get a post Avengers stuff with Ultron shit.
I don't think we're at post
I think
Avengers.
we
It
might get
might, it
post.
might be lead into Avengers. I don't think it's gonna go longer than May. If there's no break in it, it shouldn't go because I believe Avengers is the end of May, isn't it?
Hmm.
26th or something like that. Maybe it's the start of May. Regardless, I don't think it'll pass the end of May. If it does, then yeah, I guess we might get some post Avengers stuff. But it might. I think it might be trying to line up so it ends right as Avengers 2 begins.
How did I completely miss the fact that the directors of both Captain America movies are directing episodes?
I think we may have announced that at some point. If not,
I
I
completely forgot about that.
huh.
That yeah, the Russo brothers will be directing episodes 2 and 3, and Joe Johnson will be directing episode 4.
Very cool.
That's good. I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm actually more excited for Agent Carter than I am for the rest of Shield, just because of the fact that I like contained series.
Yeah, a series. It's like, hey, we're gonna be 8 episodes, so we know our story. That's actually, I'm fucking dumb. That's one actual small piece of news I completely forgot to mention. But they announced another character for that, and is the reason I'm so angry at myself is because it's one I'm actually really excited about. We mentioned before we announced the cast of the show that there was going to be a character who was going to be like her superior, kind of like her chief, and the man who's going to be playing him is Shea Wiggum, which many of you may know as Eli Thompson in Boardwalk Empire, who is a fantastic actor, and it continues Marvel using just about everybody from fucking Boardwalk Empire at this point.
Boardwalk Empire intensifies.
Because even Michael K. Williams was like, man, I want to be fucking Black Panther. And I was like, all right, first and foremost, you've already used up your Marvel Cinematic Universe fucking visit during your cameo in The Incredible Hulk, so you can't be Black Panther. But I want you in something because you're really good. But seriously, like they are really grabbing people from Boardwalk Empire, and it's great because that's a great show, and those are some really great actors. So I'm really excited to see him in that role.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of it. I mean, we're going to be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now weekly because it's going to be something to talk about weekly. We will be digging into comics at some point again. It's just going to be one of those whenever we have another like slow week, we'll be like, oh yeah, let's talk about fucking comics and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But we still got Rocket to talk about at some point.
Yeah, we did. We never talked about episode or issue 3. I'll have to reread that.
I'll have to read it. Sorry, I've been hella busy. So, yeah.
I feel you, brother.
You know, things happen, bro. So that's gonna do it for us for this week. Next week I think we're just gonna talk about Shield again. We don't need anything else to really talk about. I mean, I may also rewatch the episode, then watch the next episode to kind of see if how much blending in together and how many things I may have missed in that episode because there's just so much shit going on in episode 1. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's been this week.
All right. Hope you enjoyed, everybody.
Mm-hmm. And
have a great evening.
Everyone paying attention. The new Thor comic is coming out soon.
Yes, very soon.
Very soon. Pick that up. I'm picking it up to support that. I want that kind of shit. I'm pointing at my knee for some reason, but I'm doing that. I know you're the same way.
Yes. I can't wait to pick it up.
Well, you want to support that kind of behavior, I guess. As long as it's not for a stunt, I want to support that.
Yeah, if it's generally like, hey, we're gonna do some really cool stuff, and we're gonna take this comic in new directions that happens to branch up out of diversity, I'm all for it. And it looks like they're planning to do some cool stuff with us. So yeah, I highly recommend go and check it out. I know there's a lot of variant covers, so go check out your local comic book store to go pick up one of those.
And I know we'll talk about that when it hits. You got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
See you guys next week.
Bye!